Hey, funny seeing y'all in here. What's going on, y'all? It's the Friday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the space where we set oppression ablaze and confront uncomfortable truths about the lies that we have been told throughout our society. We've got some things to talk about here tonight, everybody. America is America-ing at a very, very high level. And when the United States is content to violate its own so-called truths and freedoms and so-called liberties, yeah, it's time. It's time to put on the camo for us all. Anyway, I appreciate you guys staying with us while we got everything together to get the show started. We are still in the middle of our March Madness fundraiser. I want to thank everyone that has contributed. Special shout outs going out to DJ Vesper X. Thank you for your Cash App support. Shout out to Angela W and Miss Walker out here with the good Cash App support. And shout out to Patrick S. Patrick S helped us to make our goal. What one of our goals anyway, our second tier goal. So every bit helps, gang. And anything that you can throw down, it could be $2. We have $2 channel memberships available, $2 Patreon memberships available, and of course any amount in the super chat will be deeply appreciated. Even if let's say 100 people, everybody threw in do they let you make $1 donation on YouTube? I don't think so. It's got to be like at least $2, right? So if 100 folks throw in $2, thanks. that would be swell. So Will is going to let us know what our next tier goal is a little bit later in the show. Our overall goal is to get to $3,000, I think, by next Friday. So far, I think we are just shy of being halfway there or something. Something. So I know it, but yeah. I'm distracted because there's news. But so thanks everybody. We're going to be mentioning this a little bit later in the show as well. But of course, the free support is never rejected, ever, never in the history of ever. If you like the video, if you subscribe to the channel, if you come and hang out in the chat, if you drop a comment, all that helps. So thanks for all of that. And I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna begin here because there's so much happening in and around this world. Are you guys experiencing the remnants of the total lunar eclipse from last night and or early this morning? In the Western Hemisphere, it was visible. I did wake up, but I was unable to find it. But that's okay. I didn't have to see the moon. The moon fucking saw me, right? So I still got bathed in some moonlight. I didn't have to see it. It fucking saw me. So yeah, shout out to all my sky gazers out there that is aware that when there are certain celestial events, the conditions are right for fuckery. And we are seeing tremendous amounts of fuckery. So let's actually start in New York City, guys. We're still following the ever-evolving, unfortunate saga of Columbia University student Mahmoud Khalil, who was abducted. There's no other way to put that. Who was kidnapped by ICE agents from his campus apartment from Columbia University. He was taken to an ICE detention center in Newark, New Jersey, and then immediately taken to another ICE detention center in Louisiana. And the folks in New York City have come out. The pro-Palestinian community has come out. I hope the free speech community is coming out. And the Antifa, the anti-fascist community, also coming out, guys, because what we are seeing right here is a bit of a floater, right? What they are doing to Mahmoud Khalil is a test. It's a test case. If this person who is a permanent US resident, right? He's a green card holder. He's not simply a visa holder. He's not an undocumented migrant. In fact, he's here very, very legally. So, assumedly, I believe the Constitution affords the same protections, the same constitutional and civil rights protections that American citizens receive. Green card recipients are supposed to have that as well. Permanent residents are supposed to be able to have those same sort of rights as well. But what the Trump administration is alleging is that Mahmoud is, quote, pro Hamas, right? And that he is a Hamas supporter. But yet the Trump administration has provided very little evidence to either define what the fuck a supporter means or to prove evidence that he is a supporter of Hamas, right? And I'm asking the question, like, what does support constitute? Are they alleging that he's an agent for Hamas? Are they alleging that he fundraises to Hamas? Are they alleging that he is what? Funneling weapons to Hamas? Like, what the fuck does support mean? Ain't he allowed to root for Hamas? Isn't he allowed to root for the resistance group that is actually trying to defend and protect his people during a genocide? I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that, especially considering, well, of course, there's nothing wrong with that because we are rational, reasonable, so-called sensible people. There's absolutely nothing wrong if he was a Hamas supporter. He's allowed to be that and do that, especially juxtaposed with how freely and openly that very prominent members of the Trump administration and those that are in elevated visible positions on the far right or on the right, I can even say the far right because the fucking right is a far right at this moment in time. These folks are openly spouting white supremacist, white nationalist, and Yahtzee views, right? Is anyone trying to punish them for openly doing that shit? Of course not. Because white nationalist views are welcome. There's only the farce. And listen, on one hand, I kind of appreciate the Trump administration revealing to us that it is a farcical thing that here in America we have freedom of diversity of differing political opinions and views. That's not true. That's not true, and it hasn't been true. You know, the communists were persecuted, socialists have been persecuted in this country, treated very much the same way that Mahmoud is being treated right now. People were abducted, they were disappeared, they were hit with trumped up charges. And the fucked up thing with Mahmoud is that he's not even charged with anything. He is just being held, right? Not charged with anything. And apparently, this tactic very much resembles something that Israel does to Palestinians, period. Something called administrative detention, where Palestinians can be just picked up and held for terms of 3-month increments. They can be held for doing things. Thanks so much. I'm gonna think who sent that in a second. They can be held for just existing, right? And this is something, and our organizer friends and colleagues have been trying to tell us this for a long time, that the tactics employed in Israel against Palestinians will be and are and will continue to be used against people in this country. I can't even say in the future because it's happening right now. So it sounds as though Mahmoud is being held on indefinite detention, it would seem, or awaiting the opportunity to deport him. Now, I'm sure you all heard that a federal judge ruled that he cannot be deported at this particular moment. However, he is not being released. The judge has not ruled in favor of Mahmoud being released. However, he is being allowed conversations at minimum with his legal representation. I think they announced that he will get 2 calls with his lawyer per day. But there is no estimated time when or if he will be released. Susan, thank you so much for your support of our fundraiser. We certainly appreciate it. So wait a minute. I want to circle back to the way that whatever Mahmoud's actions, the way they're being framed, particularly in mainstream legacy media outlets. And I gotta say, I'm gonna run it. And I don't think it's no coincidence that the 2 people that we're about to play are Black women journalists. Now, they do work for legacy media outlets, and many times we have seen journalists of color and Black journalists very much toe the line for the empire and for democracy and for capitalism. I've seen many a Black woman journalist do that goofy shit. But in this instance, it seems as though these sisters actually had some pushback for some administration officials, or for some people. The one person we're going to hear from is a Republican, operative, as it were. So the first clip we're going to play is actually from NPR. And the person being interviewed is Department of Homeland Security Deputy Secretary Edgar. Last name, I can't remember his first name. Y'all know I smoke a lot of reefers. But anyway, so and I know this lady's name is Michelle, but NPR has had numerous, at least 2 Black women named Michelle. And this is not Michelle Norris. This is the other Michelle. So y'all know who she is. But you if you ever been a long time NPR listener, you'll recognize her voice. So anyway, we'll go ahead and run that clip, because the Department of Homeland Security Deputy Secretary, when pressed numerous times about freedom of speech, is this now a deportable issue? The way that this man twists and turns and deflects and tries to, bounce the question, instead of answering the question directly, responding to the question with a question, a whole lot of deflection, and I can't say an inability. I guess I would characterize it as an outright refusal to say whether or not so-called First Amendment protected rights are reasons or justifications for green card holders to be deported. Remember, they're supposed to have constitutional rights like citizens. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a listen.
Criticism of the government a deportable offense?
It's like I said, as a student, he comes to the United States on a student visa, applies. Well, let me put it this way, Michelle. Imagine if he came in and filled out the form and said, I want a student visa. They asked him, what are you going to do here? And he's like,
he was
I'm going to go and protest and
so is protest a deportable event?
We would never have let him into the country.
Is protesting a deportable offense?
Like I said, you're focused on protesting. I'm focused on it's a visa process. He went through a legal process.
He's a lawful permanent resident married to an American citizen.
I think if he would have declared he's a terrorist, we would have never let him in.
And what did he engage in that constitutes terrorist activity?
Michelle, have you watched it on TV? It's pretty clear.
No, it isn't. Well, explain it to those of us who have not, or perhaps others have not. What exactly did he do?
Well, I think it's clear, or we shouldn't be talking about it. The reality is that if you watch and see what he's done on the university.
Do you not know? Are you telling us that you're not aware? You don't know what he did?
No, I find it interesting that you're not aware.
I think you could explain it to us. I think others would like to know exactly what the offenses are. Or perhaps we can talk again and you can give us more details about this.
Mm-hmm. The Deputy Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Oh, Michelle, I'm surprised you don't know. No, nigga, you the fucking government official. You supposed to be answering questions, not asking them in return. But they can't pin it down, right? They want to say that his speech isn't protected. And to be clear, what Mahmoud is being accused of in terms of so-called anti-Semitic speech, if you go to the Jewish Voices for Peace TikTok page, it would appear as though actual Jewish folks do not think that Mahmoud's views and opinions are indeed anti-Semitic. Pro-Palestine does not make anti-Semitic. It just doesn't. No matter how many times Zionists try to contort themselves and try to make that math add up, it never does. And it won't ever, because it's not true. It's not factual. It's not based on anything. Let me go to the next clip. So Nassau County executive, talk about Nassau County, New York, this one of yours, whether or not y'all claim them or not. Now we know people think that crackers are only not in the Northeast. I disagree. And you're about to hear this cracker get loose. Okay. I didn't even write his name down. I don't give a fuck. The Nassau County executive made an appearance on CNN. I don't know. I don't watch CNN all that much. I think this is Abby Phillips. and that annoying Latina lady. And she's not annoying because she's Latina. She's just fucking annoying. Y'all know who y'all will know exact, and y'all will agree because anyway, but I digress. So anyway, the Nassau County executive, who is also a Republican, also seemingly to be a spokesperson of sorts, or a defender, or someone who's allowed to speak in defense of the Trump administration's policies, also himself could not properly define the egregious deportable offense that Mahmoud allegedly committed that has earned him so far indefinite and unlawful detention within ICE holding facilities. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
Here is about whether speech can result in people's
He's
legal
a
rights being
virulent
taken away.
anti-Semite. He came here on a student visa. He's paid by a terrorist organization that beheads babies.
What evidence do you have
that
of any of
beheads
that?
babies.
Wait.
I have evidence.
So I'm sorry, just to be clear, you're alleging that he's paid by
He's a
who?
paid protester.
By who?
Well, I didn't ask my intelligence division exactly who paid for him, but he's being paid by. He's being
That's
paid.
a pretty explosive allegation. Who is he being paid by?
Can I ask you a question?
No, you said you
just
had
really
evidence.
wanna
Who is
know.
he being paid by?
He's being paid by organizations that are anti-American, that are engaged in nefarious
Name them.
activities. I don't ask my intelligence division to
Well,
give
then don't
me.
come on national
you
TV
gotta
and
keep it
say
on the
on
playground
things.
there.
Don't come on national
Do
TV.
you know
and
who
say-
he's being paid by?
I don't, and I'm not
Are you
alleging
okay?
that he's
Are
being
you okay
paid.
with what he's doing?
I'm not alleging he's
Are
being
you
paid
okay
by
with
because
that?
I don't know.
Are
if
you
he's
okay
being
with
paid.
anti-Semitism?
You are coming on
Are you
national
okay
TV
with
and using this
intimidating
platform
Jewish
to spread
students?
things. No, I'm
Are
not.
you okay with
No,
hate speech?
Don't make this about that. Make it about the fact
That's
that
what- that's exactly what it's
listen,
about.
that you talk louder doesn't mean anything. You're making this about. You are
sorry.
saying things on national TV that you cannot corroborate. That is irresponsible, and you
Well,
should not
why
come
don't
and
you ask
use
the NYPD, the
CNN
Intelligence
platform.
Bureau?
Well,
Why don't you ask the FBI and the CIA?
Because I don't
Okay.
speak to
They
them.
know
Let
exactly
them-
what's going on.
If there's evidence,
I'm going to
bring it
ask
out.
you. Hold on. I'm going to ask one more time. Do you know for a fact that he is being paid by another entity, especially a terrorist organization? Can you state that as a fact?
I can state with the fact that he is being paid, as the other professional protesters are being paid, by anti-American organizations that are engaged in nefarious
So
activities.
if that allegation,
that I can confirm.
Okay, so Bruce, I'm just going to say it right here. You just made that claim. There's no evidence that I know of. There's no evidence that you've provided.
Well, he
of
can
that.
sue me then.
And I mean,
then we'll come out in
hey,
court.
He's free to do whatever he wants. But the United States government has not made that allegation. They have not made charges against him on that.
Of course, they made that allegation.
No,
That's
they-
why he's being
no, they have not.
they have
No,
not.
detained.
You know, it's tough to sort of negotiate and have a discussion based upon factual information when there are people committed to not listening or not even being able to interpret the truth and what is actually true and what is conjecture, what is speculation, what is outright false, what has not been proven. That's Bruce Blakeman, Bruce Saltine. I don't fucking know. You heard him talking. You know, you know who he is. You know, you see what kind of time he's on, Mr. Bruce, out here clearly on some bullshit. This grotesque slander of Mahmoud really should scare us all, because it's Mahmoud today saying something against the Trump administration policies, saying something against US foreign policy, or the way that the United States has completely aided and abetted a real life genocide, right? Like all of us have spoken very similar things to Mahmoud. I know I have right here. And I don't think that I'm exempt. I don't, but I talk anyway because that's really the best thing. That's really the biggest arrow in my quiver is my voice and my ability to speak and trying to convey and trying to make sense through my lens of the events that's happening around us. But I don't think I'm under no auspices that my speech is going to be free of consequence. Why? Because I'm an American citizen. I'm black. What the fuck? Show me when black folks have had the freedom to openly express and confront and go against the policies of the American government, both foreign and domestic, and that's been without consequence. Either it comes with direct state persecution or it comes with social and professional consequences, and a lot of times, right? Oh, you can absolutely radical politic talk your way onto a blacklist. I'm sure some of my comrades have maybe experienced similar things, but I mean, this ain't just popping off. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to talk this shit, you at least at minimum got to believe it, right? Which I do. And it terrifies me for Mahmoud and for his family as individuals. But the larger fear that I feel for us as a society, that this type of illegal kidnapping and disappearing of political dissidents is simply going to accelerate and increase. And then that net is going to be broadened. It's not just going to be limited to migrants that came to the country. And even they trying to accuse the man of overstaying his visa. That's not what happened. If not a permanent legal resident of the United States, if that can happen to him, then that can happen to all of us. I want to circle back to Columbia University because I found this clip, and it is from a Columbia student kind of giving us an idea of what the tone is like on campus right now. And if you guys think the Columbia students, the pro-Palestinian students who have been organizing, who have been doing sit-ins, who have been in encampments, who have been taking over university buildings, they've been at this for well over a year. And Columbia University has gone out of its way to try to target and punish the students that participated and organized as part of the pro-Palestinian movement, right? Students have been suspended. Students have had their fucking degrees revoked. I mean, it's outlandish. And the fact that Columbia is highly okay going along with the directives of an overt fascist government, fascist White House. Not to say that Biden and because Biden actually started all the targeting of the college students, right? So again, these aren't conditions and circumstances that are necessarily unique to Trump. This is actually a continuation from what the Biden administration did to these students and Columbia University did to these students at the behest of the Biden administration and Israel, of course. But anyway, I want us to hear from this sister telling us what it feels like to be on campus right now at Columbia. Spoiler alert, shit feels fucking crazy, as you can imagine. Let's listen.
Fucking crazy to me that Columbia just expects us to be business as usual right now. Like, just show up to our classes, take our little notes, write our essays, take our exams as if nothing else is happening, as if the university isn't sicking ICE and police on students, as if it isn't collaborating with the regime, disappearing its own students. Like, do administrators understand just how much they've lost the trust of the student body? I feel sick at the thought of being on campus right now. There is nowhere that I would rather not be. I have been so angry every time I've stepped foot on campus since October of 2023, and it has only grown worse. We are at a point where I feel nauseous. The surveillance that has been taking place on campus for a year and a half now is so beyond the realm of the acceptable, and now we have to deal with ICE being on campus. ICE knocking on doors and trying to steal away students. Like, this is fucking crazy.
So I follow BBC Radio on TikTok, and while I can't recall the name of the presenter, it's on their TikTok page. And the gentleman was talking about a report that I couldn't find, but I didn't have reason to think that the BBC in this instance would make this up, right? It seems like it could be easily disputed. However, so apparently Columbia University journalism students had a talking to, right? The deans, the heads of schools, whatever, school communication, journalism, whatever, had all the journalism students assembled and cautioned them about the kind of social media postings that they make if they express support either for Palestine or for, Lebanon and Hezbollah. If you were, expressing support for, I suppose, Israel's enemies, the school administration was cautioning these students about that. And apparently Jelani Cobb, if I'm not mistaken, isn't he an opinion writer for the Times, for the New York Times? Or he's some black writer, journalism, muckety muck. Anyway, I think he's the head of the journalism school and told the students reportedly, per the BBC, that we can't protect you. If you want to take pro-Palestinian stances, there's nothing that we can do as a school, even to journalism students, to protect you. And I want you guys to understand how sobering that is and how consequential of a message that is to the young journalisms. I did say journalisms to the young journalists coming up with the desire, I hope, to be good journalists, to report the news accurate and fair without giving it a Western or capitalist or imperialist slant, ideally, right? But even still, when speech is chilled, and especially to the ones that themselves aspire to report the news and bring information to the masses, that's sending a very powerful message that all news isn't created equal. And of course, this is a concept that we see it right now. It exists currently, right? But for it to be so overt in students' faces, right? It just gives you a real idea of the kind of landscape that they're headed into, or that the timeline that we find ourselves in currently. All of America's so-called ideals evaporate. And of course, we know that those ideals, or rather, rights and liberties and freedoms only apply universally to a very small sliver of the population, or rather, a very specific demographic. But even the pretense of our freedoms and liberties, that being overtly shown in our faces, that shit's not worth the paper it was written on, baby. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, to the Trump administration, those are just suggestions. Even to the Biden administration, those are just recommendations. The Bill of Rights is recommendations. That's not shit that actually needs to be upheld or adhered to, or we shouldn't be taking these things as the law of the land. I want us to look back for a second in history, because the kind of targeted persecutions we are seeing of pro-Palestinian movements, of Black liberation movements, of LGBTQ movements, these things are not new. This is just our first time getting to see that shit in real time, right? Well, not our first time, rather. This is the latest, not the first in my 46 years. This is just the latest, right? But for some, I would imagine, though, it would be the first, depending on your age and generation. But voila, welcome to America. So I want us to look back, actually, at the migrant and farm labor protests of the 60s, when Cesar Chavez was heading that movement. But what really got me about this clip, and I might ask you to, cut the clip after a certain time. We may not watch the whole thing. But when RFK Sr. Was having dialogue with Cesar Chavez and the migrant labor movement leaders, they themselves, the migrant laborers who were out protesting their poor working conditions, deplorable, reprehensible conditions, extremely poor wages, no protections, when they were out protesting, the cops are getting sicked on them as well. But there comes a point in this video where we're seeing a congressional hearing, it would appear, and the sheriff from whence these protests, were happening, gave a very interesting explanation as to why they went in and arrested these protesters who didn't really break any law. So why the fuck were they getting arrested? But anyway, let's take a look at this clip.
Senator came out with us. He had that gift of just being able to connect with everybody.
All right, well, that's good.
Regardless of your state.
Yeah. So what? Did you guys appreciate the raucous laughter in the congressional chamber when Boss Hogg sat up there and said with a straight face, they was thinking about breaking the law. We had to go arrest them. It was unlawful assembly, Well, we have to arrest them before they break the law. What, nigga? Right. Different rules apply for different types of protesters. Isn't that amazing? Wouldn't it have been nice if that same logic would have been applied on January 6th? Interesting. So anyway, free speech doesn't exist, especially if you have the temerity and the audacity to speak out against the empire, but from the from the left side of the spectrum. The right can call for the dissolution of the federal government every way, 6 ways from Sunday. They can also storm the seat of power. They can riot. They can assault and beat and maim law enforcement officers, and they will earn presidential pardons. This is the level of dystopia. Can I even call it dystopia? Again, none of this is actually dystopic, because tell me when rowdy whites seldom get punished in America. White folks can come out here and do what they want, but be brown or be black, they will disappear you in the middle of the night and have your family wondering where you are and whether or not you are safe and whether or not you're even going to survive. So even though people are like, well, Mahmoud, he's Palestinian, he's not, y'all, we on the list. How far down do you want to go? If it's legal green card holders, if it's legal permanent residents today, it's people who have birthright citizenship tomorrow. And then who defines birthright citizenship? My people have been on this rotten colony for hundreds of years, and still I could see them trying to make a case as to why. Oh, you haven't been born here long enough, right? And I know some of that might sound ridiculous, but it's really not. Because this is how quickly fascism accelerates, and Trump and Elon and them are going balls to the wall. Democrats do not really seem to be in a position, or I don't know how badly they want to stop. I'm not even sure how the congressional, not the fucking budget. Say it in the chat. We'll pay attention to the chat real quick. How did the Senate vote on the continuing resolution tonight? Did they vote in favor of the Republican budget, or did they vote against it? I'm curious. But whatever decision they decided, it's a lose-lose proposition for everybody, unfortunately. But do something, goddammit. So please understand, the issue pertaining around Mahmoud Khalil is probably going to leave the national headlines within the week, right? If the Trump administration decides to keep him detained, and if there is no more news to be reported, no new news, then the legacy mainstream outlets are going to drop it. I don't know if it's going to be continued to be covered on outlets like CNN and even NPR. But what you do need to do is try to follow some of the organizations supporting Palestine, like the Palestine Youth Group, the Palestinian, it's not the Palestinian Authority. It's PA. They're a British-based group. I just had a brain fart that quick. Jewish Voices for Peace. You need to be following these organizations, their social media accounts, because they're going to stay on top of the story and detail the ways in which other organizers, movement participants are also being targeted, being harassed, being doxxed, being denied housing. I mean, it runs the gamut. And even if Palestine isn't your issue, though I can't see how a genocide happening right in front of us could sit well with anybody that likes humanity in even the smallest way, it needs to be your issue, because it'll be us next. It has been us, and trust me, they are quite content for it to be us again. let me take a teeny bit of a break before we go on to the next portion of the program. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's Burn It Down with Kim Brown. I hope you guys had a good one. I did a Twitch turn up on Wednesday. Oh, Will, I did a Twitch turn up on Wednesday. And I did Roberta Flack. I'm gonna work on the sound quality. It wasn't terrible, but I went back and listened to it. I'm like, oh, that's not sounding the way it sounds in my headphones. It didn't sound terrible, but you know, I'm a sonic snob. I am a sonic snob, and if some shit does have some poor audio quality, ooh, that irks my nerves. I can't even deal. So I did the Twitch turn up about Roberta Flack, about some of the Roberta Flack album cuts. I guess they was fucking album cuts. It wasn't, you know, Killing Me Softly or Feels Like Making Love or any of the big hits. It was her other joints. And them joints thump. So
y'all go check that out.
What's that?
Your Twitch turn up, bro.
Who got to check it out?
People that haven't checked it out already.
But how they can only check it out. They can't go to Twitch and check it out.
Yeah, my fault. Dang.
That's why we did the thing with the StreamYard so we could archive the.
Yeah, you're right. I got to do that.
Yeah, it's all good. What's going on, Will? You sound like you have some news to report.
Yes, I do. We are in the midst of our fundraiser, and we are working on March 14th through 18th. So we're in the March Madness days. So if we get 15 unique donors, we will get another user poll for a topic for Tuesday's show. So
nice.
Encourage your fellow Burns Fire fam, I like, to donate this round. So please donate, please contribute. Yes. Molly said what?
Molly also said y'all can go up a tier, right? So if you say you're at the $2 level and if you go up to the $5 level, that counts towards it. That counts towards the goal. So yeah, just the thought, you know what I'm saying? And again, how many people we got in here now, Will?
We got 107 people in the chat right now.
Well, I'm pretty sure 100 of y'all have sent money at some point. Maybe 50 of y'all, maybe 50. So do this, especially if you've never sent money, because again, we have people that support us on the regular, and I love you and appreciate you all. And I am not Kamal. I am not trying to, y'all. I'm not gonna frisk y'all as y'all come into the room. All right, what you got on the show, homie? You know what I'm saying? We're not doing you like that. Howsoever, if you've never contributed before, take this opportunity to do so. And again, it don't have to be big bucks, y'all. Them $2 donations add up. You know, if we can string together several $2 donations, you know, we working with a little something. So consider throwing down just a couple of bucks on it. Also, you can go over to patreon.com/BIDWKB if you want to support. We have $2 tiers there at that location also. Is that it, Will? Is that all you got? Do we have any super chats? Susan, thanks again for your Cash App support. Chats. Deeply, deeply appreciative.
No super chats, just shout out to the chat. That's all.
That's what's up. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone that's in here. Okay, so wait a minute. Let me move on to my next story. Because, gang, while we're talking about who is on the menu, who this administration and who this government overall, regardless of who sits in the White House, who is America looking to target, looking to other, looking to disappear, looking to erase? In addition to Black and brown people generally, in addition to people on the left generally, in addition to apparently undocumented migrants generally, our LGBTQ brothers and sisters and non-binary folks are under attack. And it's like it's a real attack. This ain't no pretendo, okay? When they making new laws in states about can trans people exist in rent apartments, like the shit is crazy. Again, like if it's these people on the top of the fuckwit list today, where is your black ass? Where is your disabled ass. Where do you fall on this, right? Where how far down the list are you? This is why I'm upset about all of this shit, right? So where am I going to start? Will, in fact, I'm actually going to start with the TMZ joint first, because that's how I do have it listed. Yes. So I know you guys are like, Kim, TMZ, please leave us alone. Listen, no, do not judge. Ne juge pas moi. Do not judge me. I don't even know if judge is the actual verb in French for judge, but fuck it. You understand what I'm saying? I'm speaking franglais tonight. Ne juge me pas. Yeah, anyway. So Texas, woo! A unique brand of fuckery in Texas, especially when it comes to women's rights and it comes to the rights of LGBTQ folks. So in this Texas legislative session, 2 legislators have put forth a bill or a set of bills that would make it a crime and a felony for a trans person to identify as their transitioned gender on state documents, like a driver's license, for example. Okay. And I want us to hear these 2 douchebags' rationale and justification for wanting to impose, I guess, actual penalties on trans people for simply existing and wanting to have documents that properly reflect their designated gender, the gender that they have transitioned to, right? And these people are going to articulate reasons that include, we need to protect our girls and our daughters. And I'm waiting for the evidence that shows that trans people, even especially trans women, because that's what they're talking about. They're talking about people who were assigned male at birth and who have transitioned to female. That's exactly what they're talking about, right? Talk about trans women in particular. And I don't know where the evidence lies that trans women are somehow out here assaulting women and girls at rates even comparable to cisgender hetero males, right? Because as a woman and people who identify as women, even if it's, we know who the fucking enemy is, okay? And let me tell you something. And I'm going to say this with respect, and I'm not trying to, disrespect or regard anybody's gender identity. But shorty, a nigga in a dress, okay, it's the least of my fucking worries when it comes to who is at the top of the threat list, okay? It's not a nigga in a dress. I assure you that, okay? Talk to untucked. She is not the fucking enemy. She is not the threat. You know who's the threat? The regular ass looking dude, okay? And my brothers in here, y'all know I'm not talking about all men, but you all know that a small amount of the cisgender hetero men are responsible for overwhelming majority of the domestic violence, the abuse, the sexual predator, the child molestation. Y'all know it's not all dudes, but it's a good enough amount of dudes to cause massive chaos and displacement and harm throughout the community. So listen to these Texas legislators. Pay attention in part to the law that they're proposing. Again, they want to make it a felony for this. But again, listen to the justification and how fucking nonsensical and obtuse to who the actual enemies of women and girls really are. Let's take a listen.
Thanks for being with us. Why is this necessary?
We live in a day and age where common sense is not so common anymore. And we live in a day and age where we've watched time and time again as there have been horrific situations. We have a mental health crisis on our hands in our country, and specifically in Texas among students. And we're watching as biological men are invading women's safe spaces, women's bathrooms, taking sports opportunities away, such as Riley Gaines.
Let's be really clear on this. This does not criminalize in any way, shape, or form being trans. If you want to be trans, you're an adult, you're 26 years old, and you want to be trans, this doesn't do anything to criminalize it. What it simply means, though, is that you can't change your records, nor can you lie on state documents about what your biological gender sex is.
What is the point and value say, of telling somebody that they have to say they are male if they've transitioned and feel like a female, have done transition surgery to become a female, dress as a female would dress. What is the value or purpose in having them disclose their biological status at birth?
We heard from multiple law enforcement sources that if your name is Tony and you want to change your name to Tate and you want to change your gender on your birth certificate from male to female, you can dress the same way, but you're identifying supposedly as a female. If you also have history of sex offenses, now it's nearly impossible to screen for people.
Assuming they are a predator, how do you know that just because they say male versus female?
But they're on the sex registry list. They're
Well,
already on the
but
sex
let's
registry
just,
list.
I mean, if they're on the sex registry list, you're going to see them anyway with their name. But is this to find people who say they've transitioned who are predators? Because that feels like a tiny little group there.
Well, either way, if we're protecting one young lady, it's worth it. And so when we're looking at a situation where quite literally governments all across America, we look at California, we look at New York, where we see perpetuation of mental illness, I don't think the government should be affirming mental illness. I think the government needs to take a stand and say, hey, look, common sense says this, you can't change your sex.
If Caitlyn Jenner comes into Texas and puts on a certificate that Caitlyn Jenner is a female, you think Caitlyn Jenner should be guilty of a felony and go to jail?
I think Caitlyn Jenner will follow the law. And I think Caitlyn Jenner, along with many trans people, along with many gay people, are against the grooming of our children and against this infectious lie that's being told out there that there are 60 different genders.
What I'm not concerned about is Caitlyn Jenner coming to Texas and what she's going to put down on that piece of paper, other than the fact that we're perpetuating a mental illness.
So really the baseline of what you're looking at is you believe that anybody who is transgender, who identifies differently from their biological birth gender, is mentally ill.
I believe that gender dysphoria is absolutely a mental illness. And sadly, because we perpetuated it and normalized it to such a degree, people no longer see it that way across our country.
Does it seem a little draconian to you that you would take what you consider to be a mentally ill person and imprison them because their mental illness, the way you see it, leads them to answer a question that you think is deceptive, that the remedy would be to make them a felon and put them in prison?
We only have compassion and love for anyone that's going through this. And the
But
reality is,
you'd put them in prison. You'd put them in prison.
that's someone that breaks the law. When someone thinks that they're a female when they're really a male, the 70% of these cases, they're autistic. 95% of these cases, you see cutting, you see clinical depression. Treating a mental illness does not include cutting off body parts. And we want to do everything we can to say we love you, we're going to walk with you, but we're not going to aid you. We're not going to help you.
I have to laugh and chuckle a little bit because as I'm listening to this, I'm reminded, and not to say that I thought otherwise, but I'm like, don't forget, Kim, TMZ is not journalism. Okay. Like, why? I'm asking myself this as I'm watching that again. I'm like, why do you watch TMZ? I watch it for the entertainment news, whatever, what's going on with Diddy, blah, blah, blah. But this is not journalism. Not even close, because Harvey Levin and the other gentleman asking the questions, they do the audience a real disservice by in any way legitimizing these two yahoos' psychological assessments. Are y'all fucking doctors? Is there a psych degree between the two of y'all? Is there even 3 psych college credits between you two fucking yahoos? And just to allow their baseless statistics to be spewed without challenge, without citation, it legitimizes this bullshit argument coming from the right about what trans is, what it isn't. I mean, I almost choked when that dumb fucking cracker said, We have to keep biological men out of women's spaces. They're in the bathrooms, they're in the locker rooms. And I'm like, this is spoken like a person who themselves has never taken the time to look at the rates of sexual assault in schools, middle, high school, even elementary schools, and never taken the time to assess who is doing the abusing of people that find themselves on the receiving end of sexual assault in a school setting. Okay. Oftentimes it's male coaches, male and female teachers, it's adults. It's cisgender, heterosexual fucking adults, and or it is the peers and the classmates who are causing harm to their fellow classmates, right? It is not trans students, it is not trans people using unisex bathrooms or trans girls wanting to play girls sports. The biological, and he's right, the dumb cracker said something kind of correct. Biological men are invading women's spaces and harming them, but he doesn't want to look at the biological men say that occupy the Texas legislature with him, or the biological men in his church, right? This whole wanting to separate out trans people, a very small part of the population, as the groomers, when there are countless cases that I see on a weekly basis of some adult violating the trust and autonomy of a child, and this predatory adult is not trans. They are very hetero, they are very cisgender, and they are very much pedophiles. And let me introduce you to one of these pedophiles. Speaking of, since these Texas yahoos and all these fucking conservative goofballs want to focus on trans folks and gay folks as the groomers of children, y'all need to focus on who are the actual groomers of children. And they are usually men in very respected places. They are men that are hiding in plain sight. There are men who put themselves in contact or proximity with children as respected, trusted authority figures in some way. And they are the ones that are reaching out to your kids online and doing all kinds of terrible shit. Will, what do I have here next? Let's go to the article, because I saw this case out of Utah. Woo! What do we know about Utah, everybody? Well, we know a couple things about Utah. They are very churchy in Utah. And listen, places in America, especially where there are beds of hotbeds, let's say hotbeds of evangelical religion, Christian, LDS, whatever. Trust me, the women and the children are not okay. Places where the religion is super concentrated. When I lived in Oklahoma, for example, nigga, they had so many fucking churches and so many goddamn rates of child sexual assault. Dog, I'm like, this can't be a coincidence. This cannot be a coincidence. Mike Mack, thank you so much, baby. Appreciate you. God damn, thank you, Mike Mack. Appreciate that. These things are not a coincidence. So let's go to Utah here, because it's been reported that a sitting Utah judge has been charged with 8 felonies. 8 felonies connected to coercing children, to abusing children, to sending explicit text messages and images to children. And this judge has been arrested, but he also had a partner in crime. We're going to get to the partner in crime in a minute, because guess what, y'all? The partner in crime also a somebody in the community. Shocker, shocker, right? Let's send this story to these Texas legislators and ask them, you know, what y'all need to address the real monsters in the community. And it is these fucking Bible thumping, hetero wife having, children, father having. These people are husbands and fathers, members of the community, esteemed members of the community. The main ones out here doing the biggest harm to women, children. So this Utah judge, his name is Kevin Christensen. I believe Judge Christensen is 64 years of age. And authorities allege that he, for at least a period of several months, though they suspect it has been much longer, was using the messaging app called Kik in order to make contact and allegedly groom several young girls. Some of the text communications that he, according to police, that he engaged in were with girls as young as 13, including a 16-year-old who he allegedly sent provocative images, graphic images of himself, also requesting images, telling these young girls that he wanted to create sexually explicit material with them. And apparently he was also part of a child sex abuse materials sharing ring, right? Because that's how the PDF files operate, right? They usually don't operate in a vacuum. They have created their own communities where they are trading these explicit and graphic and illegal images like it's goddamn NFTs or if it's fucking trading cards. And it's disgusting. And it's rampant. And it's blatant. If you look. That's the thing. You actually got to look for the PDF files. But I'm sorry, you got distracted by the person assigned male as birth trying to go into a unisex bathroom. I do not like it here. So this judge, Kevin Christensen, 64 years old, charged with a slew of felonies, but he wasn't by himself, y'all. He had a partner in crime, allegedly. Okay. And his partner in crime was the fire chief of this particular community in Utah. Fire chief, also husband, father, esteemed member of the community. Well, we'll get to the story here in a second. Judge Christensen and the fire chief became homies after the fire chief appeared in Christensen's court, I believe, for disseminating child sex abuse materials. And Christensen gave him a lenient sentencing. Shocker, shocker, because like I keep trying to say, the American criminal justice system does not take seriously the issue of child sex abuse, of grape, right? It doesn't take these things seriously. And we can tell that by the very lenient and light sentences that these offenders receive. First offense, second offense, these motherfuckers getting probation, they're getting a year in jail, 18 months, bullshit, right? When we know people that would either consume child sex abuse materials are also very likely to try to create those materials by seeking out victims, grooming them, and then harming them. So let's get the story of the fire chief in Utah, Kevin Christensen's homie, who also got arrested on all of these cruddy, disgusting ass charges. Let's take a listen.
New reaction tonight after criminal charges were filed against a judge and now former fire chief accused in a child pornography case. It is our top story tonight on 2 News at 6. I'm Heidi Hatch.
And I'm Mark Cabell. Tremont Fire Chief Ned Hansen and Judge Kevin Christensen both facing multiple charges. And tonight, the mayor of Tremont says this is weighing heavily on the community.
Brian Belay, he's live for us in Tremont tonight. And Brian, these two are accused of discussing things with children that we can't even say on TV.
No, it is way too graphic and disturbing, and the mayor here insists this is not us.
Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear.
Ned Brady Hansen being sworn in as Tremont Fire Chief a couple of years ago. He and Utah District Court Judge Kevin Christensen accused of being linked in child sex crimes.
I say that it breaks my heart.
It makes me mad because they're supposed to be the leaders.
Do you know either one of these men?
I've met Judge Christensen.
And your thoughts of him?
He was an upstanding pillar of the community.
I think about the children.
Lyle Holmgren, Tremonton's mayor.
And it's just hard for me to even comprehend.
You obviously know the fire chief. Did you also know the judge?
Oh, yeah.
He says Judge Christensen appeared before the city council on municipal court contracts, and Hansen was vetted for the chief's job.
You don't even suspect anything.
And that's what happened here.
That's what happened
for
here.
you.
Yeah.
Hansen has been fired as fire chief here in Tremont, and he is charged with 8 counts of aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor. Judge Christensen charged with enticing minors on the internet and also dealing in materials harmful to minors. An FBI agent says there is information that the two men also engaged in sex together. Live in Tremont, Brian Malahi, KUTV 2 News.
You know, that last little nugget at the end should be a reminder, or rather even a lesson, that when homophobia is reinforced in the culture, in the society, when you make people deny who they are and the true feelings that they have, they can either turn that repressed energy and those repressed feelings inward into self-harm, into self-hate, which I'm certain there was probably some elements of that, but then they turn it outwards, right? That is where the deviancy comes in. When people can't be themselves, like if Judge Christensen and Fire Chief, whoever the fuck, if they just wanted to be boyfriend and boyfriend, the world wouldn't allow them to do that, right? They're deeply, you know, I don't know if they're Mormons because they're in Utah. I'm just making a broad assumption, but I'm assuming these are deeply religious communities because that is Utah. So let's just say the deep embeddedness of religious indoctrination, especially, you know, Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, you know, makes people mask who they are, and it can turn out to be a fucked up thing for them as individuals and really for the greater society. Look at what homophobia did. Look at how numerous minors have been harmed or violated because these dipshits, these devils, these demons, anyone that targets children, there is something really wrong with you. And I would love to hear the Texas legislators' armchair psychological examinations of what makes a 64-year-old man reach out to a 13-year-old girl and talk dirty to her. Like, can I get the little bullshit psych eval from Texas legislator so-and-so? Can he run that down to us? Or you want to talk to me about the 0.0002% of sexual assaults that are actually committed by trans people when we know overwhelmingly the biggest predators of women and girls are people like Judge Christensen, like the fire chief, like this pastor. I don't have his name. There was a pastor of a big church out in Oklahoma, actually, who just was charged or is being investigated for sexually assaulting a woman when she was a teenager back in the 80s. She ain't forget that shit. That shit getting brought back up. But I have to laugh in a way in the package where, you know, they're interviewing members of the town. Oh, we're just shocked. We didn't see that coming. Didn't think he was that kind of person. Oh, well, we vetted him thoroughly. Did you? What does this say about your vetting process? You had an open child sex abuse producer, child sex abuse materials producer, someone who is literally luring children, trying to entice children, the lowest of the low. But the people that remain in political power in the United States still remains white men overwhelmingly. And the white men are never going to look at themselves. They're never going to look at their peers. They're never going to look at their brothers. They're never going to look at their fathers. They're never going to look at their uncles, except anything but benevolent, God's benevolent creatures. And they will ignore the inappropriate comments that these men make about young girls, the way that they interact and touch children, All that'll be glossed over because I thought he was a good guy. I seen him in church every Sunday. He come out to the, the whatever the fuck, and he seemed like a good person, seemed like a good fella. I ain't never thought he was going to be diddling kids. Well, apparently you don't know what kid diddlers look like. And if you think they look like people assigned male at birth who present as women, you have no fucking clue who is out here really harming girls and women. And that's why you shouldn't have any say or authority on restricting the civil liberties that trans people, I can't even say enjoy. They're holding on to, the last rights that they have. And this insistence that state time. Can you imagine if I was in Texas, I would be calling these fucking people and cussing them the fuck out. Is this your priority? You want to talk to me about mental health? Do we have any resolutions to address the mental health crisis that help to facilitate the massacre in Uvalde? Like, do we have y'all ain't got nothing else better to do than to talk out your ass about gender dysphoria and trans people are 70% likely more to cut themselves? Nigga, cite your sources or shut the fuck up. But know this, and I want all of you to know this, and y'all already know this. Why? Because y'all are people that pay attention, okay? Gay people are not the groomers, overwhelmingly. Is there grooming that happens in the gay community? I'm sure there is. But we don't have to look far to see where the grooming is happening in so-called heteronormative dynamics, right? You better keep an eye out on your daughter's coach. Your daughter's coach is likely more of a threat to her than the trans girl wanting to join the soccer team, okay? And if you think anything other than that, again, you don't pay attention to who's out here grooming and harming kids. And it's people that look just like Kevin Christensen. Respected, trusted authority figures. Predators hide in plain sight. Don't forget that. I'm gonna do more of these kinds of stories because I as I see trans people's rights being eroded, I know it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. I mean, we're seeing the dismantling of disability rights at the Department of Education, right? And the opportunity, and trust me, I want to talk to somebody that is very apprised about what is it, Section 504 and Title I and all that. Like, I want to talk to somebody that actually, can break down what is exactly at stake. Though I do understand that there are things in jeopardy of wholesale going away for disabled students and by extension disabled people. Elon Musk talking about fucking with Social Security and SSDI. Dog, then what? Then what? Imani Barbarin thinks that disabled people are at risk of being institutionalized, like the days of old. On the ghost shows that I watch, all these goofy crackers be we're at the old so-and-so institution where disabled people and indigent people were housed and treated very badly. Yeah, they want to reopen institutions like that and house homeless people who are experiencing mental health crisis, people who I can only imagine who may be physically disabled. And if Elon cuts off SSDI, themselves will be homeless. Me too. Hopefully, I think I could go back and stay with my mama, but who knows? She might be mad at me. She's not mad at me. But my point, we are all on the chopping block right now, gang. And if you think you ain't, you are. Alicia, thank you so much for your Cash App support, baby. Appreciate you. I'm gonna round this up. We gonna turn them loose. Will, I saw some boxes rolling up. Shall we acknowledge the boxes now, or shall we acknowledge the boxes?
Let's acknowledge the boxes.
Okay.
Shout out to Afra. Kick your ass things.
What did you say Afra said?
She said, happy Pi Day, happy Women's History Month.
It's Friday. I didn't realize.
Shout out to Afra
Thank
Singh.
you.
Shout
Thank
out to
you,
the
Afra.
chat. Everybody's in the building.
Hey.
Yep, it's a lot of people. We, the family is in here.
I appreciate it, gang.
Trolls in here too, but the
Hey,
family in here
what's up,
too.
trolls? You know what I'm saying? Bring all that LDE energy right on in here, trolls. You know what I'm saying? We listen, we don't judge.
Right. Respectfully.
That's all it is. It's LDE energy. That's it. That's all it be. And I don't even understand, trolls. Do y'all like me? Do y'all not like me? Do you come in here to talk shit for fun, or you want to gaze upon my face? I don't care. Whatever. Thanks to all of our wonderful mods. Thank you so much to Latif. Thank you to Courtney. Thank you to Anna. Thank you to Learn Life. Thank you to Tyler Hackner, Dawn Bird Afraid Not, and our newest mods. We have Nerly D in the building. We have DJ Vesper X ranching in the chat. So thanks to one and all. Please send some love to all the mod crew. We love y'all so much. Thank you. And we're going to get out of here with a couple of palate cleansers, everybody. Where am I starting with my palate cleansers? Do me a favor, or do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. And thanks to everyone that is helping us with our March Madness fundraiser. You guys are amazing. Thanks to all that also contribute and support Ear Doctor and I on Classical Breakdown. We did Roy Ayers. I think we need to do a part 2. What do y'all think? I think we need to do a part 2 on Roy Ayers, because you guys, I think I said this on the show. My little arms were too short to box with the God. The hubris. I felt so stupid. I'm like, Kim, do you know how arrogant it is to think that you're going to start Roy Ayers' catalog the day before the show and you think you're going to finish? You think you're going to get done? The audacity. I was so mad at myself. I said, look at the goofiness of my own self. I'm standing at the base of Mount Everest thinking I'm a summit. I'm going to summit in the same day. No. Now, my brother held us down. Ear Doctor did hold us down, but Roy Ayers, y'all, the catalog is massive, dog. I mean, the shit is like fucking the Iliad and the Odyssey. That shit is thick. And it takes time if you're going to process it. And oh, Sweary Fairy is one of our mods too. Sweary Fairy, forgot. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. I think you was Sweary Fairy's got her wrench, right? Is she even in here? Let me mind my business. Let me keep rolling. It's fine. Don't worry. But shout out to Sweary Fairy in general. So let me get to one of my palate cleansers, because even though the whole fuck around and find out movement, for people that voted for MAGA and voted for Trump, but yet didn't realize that indeed they were voting against their own interest, their own economic self-interest, against inflation, and against their government jobs that they themselves were enjoying. They didn't think that Trump's policies would come for them. And it seems as though this group of people, or rather a contingent of whites, I'm not even sure if these are conservative whites. I don't know if these are liberal whites. I don't know if these are apolitical whites. I'm not sure. But the whites are angry. And it's a mixed bag when the whites are angry, because when the whites get angry, shit like the Civil War breaks out, right? And I don't know. I don't know. However, North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican, a big supporter of the Trump administration, says that his office has been receiving harassing calls and death threats. And I want you to notice a couple of things. I'm going to play this clip. There are no accents of the angry callers of which you were about to hear, and they are cussing Tom Tillis the fuck out. It is not a Haitian accent, not a Hispanic accent, not even a British accent. There are no accents. It's Americans, okay? and it's the envelopians. It's our Caucasian cousins. They're calling the Republicans and cussing them smooth the fuck out. And listen, when you piss off the 2A contingent, you better watch your back, okay? Because they move different out here. But Will, please take it from the tippity top. A sliver of the calls that Tom Tillis, the senator from North Carolina, the Republican, has been receiving from constituents.
Good afternoon, Senator Tillis.
That's how Northern war vets think about you.
Good afternoon, Senator Tillis.
That's how Northern war vets think about you Southern white trash. That's what the ones who won the Civil War think about you. Do you understand that inferior bad genes, inbred stupid you and all your people?
Yeah, Tom Tillis, afraid of death threats. Then get the out of office.
I would like to talk to Tom Tillis and ask him why he thinks it's okay for him to take money from this nation and it over. Why does he think that he can tell his employers to go themselves every goddamn day, all day long, and sell his goddamn nation out and his employers over? Don't he know that his employers can take a axe handle and cave his head in?
And I suggest, well, you're going to have to be very careful about going out in public or talking to anybody that's real, that's an actual American, because we hate you.
If I didn't have a broken back in Southern California, I would spend the rest of my life in federal prison for a chance to cut your throat.
That's about the third or fourth time I've heard that, and I've laughed every single time. I've laughed every single time. You keep pissing off them people from the Caucasus Mountains. Other person from the Caucasus Mountains. Shame on you for not knowing who your folks are, okay? Your folks don't take kindly to being screwed over, okay? Them cutters don't run, okay? And even if they don't show up at the front door of the Senate office, nigga, they gonna call you and tell you all about it. And, you know, I love white on white violence, y'all. It is my favorite. Like, I almost can't get enough of it. Like, and I know that sounds maybe a little fucked up. This man talking about cutting people's, you know, necks and shit. And I'm chuckling about the shit. Well, the shit is funny, okay? Because I see black and brown people constantly brutalized at the hands of the state. I see people in power fucking over white folks also, in addition to us. And there be little to no consequence behind it. And I'm sorry if some of these people in positions of power have to move a little bit fearful. Good. Good. Experience a little bit of the chaos and the instability that many people living in this country experience on a daily basis for a variety of reasons, whether or not it's housing insecurity, food insecurity, fear from police. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot that people every day in this country experience a lot of uncomfortability around. And unfortunately, I do not think senators or elected officials writ large, I don't think that they understand that. And if they got to hear from their own folks, if you got to hear from the ones, you know, because the Caucasians, y'all, they don't just bark, they bite. You know what I'm saying? They will let the chopper sing. I mean, there's been a lot of instances, recent and historical, of which they have shown us they will let the chopper sing. And if I was some of these Republican lawmakers, given what Brother Luigi has done, given what two others attempted to let the chopper sing, well, one of them did, let the chopper sing on, you know, President Cheeto, dog. If it's going to be real for us, it needs to be real for them. And if we need to sit back and let the whites work it out amongst themselves, I'm with it. Work it out, whites. But we know how the whites work it out. They work it out with the pistolas. So we'll see. My other palate cleanser. I saw this and it tickled me so. And I said, y'all will probably appreciate this. Now, for those of us of a certain age who remember the Sunday, come down to Brown's Honda and Toyota and get your deal, $199 down, get you driving, 0% interest, blah, 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 blah. You remember the big bombastic over-the-top car dealership commercials, right? Now they're all, a little tame and you got a full tank of freedom and all kinds of shit. Well, apparently, and I didn't see this when it happened live. I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but when Trump this week at the White House, what he was hawking Teslas. So Elon Musk apparently is experiencing a decline in the gains that the Tesla stock had made after Trump's inauguration, right? As the country folks say, Elon was standing in tall cotton because Tesla was riding high because of the momentum from, Doge, etc. Well, now that everybody understands that not only is Elon a obvious avowed Yahtzee, but, he's dumb. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's a businessman, not even a great one. And he doesn't nor does he care the effects of his decisions that they're making on the lives of real, actual people. So anyway, I guess in order to counteract some of the negative effects that Elon's presence and I guess his own tanking brand is having on Tesla sales, Tesla stocks, because apparently Tesla sales are down globally. Like Europe is Europe is like, fuck this Tesla shit. They're burning the electric charging stations over in Europe. Obviously, we know about the attacks on Tesla dealerships here stateside. It's not looking good for Elon and Tesla at the moment. So Trump figured he had to throw a little alley-oop to his homie. But this particular TikTok creator framed it and edited it in a way that is chuckle-worthy. Your palate cleanser. Let's take a listen.
Going on now at the White House Tesla Auto Mall. It's the biggest sale of the year.
Very safe, it's very strong, heavy. It's all steel, stainless steel.
Come on down to Pennsylvania Avenue, just off Route 29, to get our best deal ever on a brand new Tesla.
I want to make a good deal here. They have one, which is $35,000, which is pretty low.
Get a Model 1 with a different panel and everything's computer.
This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer.
So don't waste your time going to those other Tesla dealerships with riots and flaming cyber trucks. You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
I love Tesla.
You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
This is really amazing. Tesla.
I love that Teslas are now added to the long list of Trump endorsed shitty products, right? The Trump Force Ones, the gold sneakers, the Trump Bible, Trump University, Trump vodka, Trump wine. Add Tesla to those products that aren't worth a motherfucking quarter. And now Trump has endorsed, so hopefully it'll turn to shit. Very nice. Anyway, but I know some of y'all own Tesla stock, so I hope y'all dump that shit accordingly. I don't fault you for owning it. We all got to survive capitalism, but I wouldn't hold on to that shit because it's going down. So anyway, gang, thanks again for everything. Just a reminder, hit us up on our cash platforms, $BIDWKB, Venmo at BIDWKB, paypal.me/BIDWKB, and patreon.com/BIDWKB. I appreciate you guys doing so much to help us get to our goals. Thank you so much to Alicia. Thank you to Mike Mack. Thank you to Susan Ara. Thank you so much to Patrick S. Angela, everyone that ran us a super chat tonight. Did I see another? Oh, Afra. Thank you so much, Afra, for your super chat support tonight. And thanks to all that y'all been standing by us for a while. And I'm deeply, deeply appreciative. Also, do not forget, subscribe to Black Liberation Media. Please check out Saturdays with Renee tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. You know, Renee gonna hit us in the head with some shit we needed to know. We appreciate the work that the good sis does. And I think that's it. Will, you got anything else that you want to add, say, contribute? No. Will not listen.
Good night, people.
Oh. Good night, y'all. We'll see y'all back here Tuesday. Y'all be safe out there. Peace, peace. Love you guys. See you later. Bye-bye. Deuces.